What up, guys? What up? What up? I am Lou. In this video, guys, we're going to be talking about uploading files to SharePoint. So I'm doing a multi-part series, and we're going to be adding code to existing code that we already, started. So the previous video that I made, which was part one, it was to download files. So in this video, I want to show you how to upload files. And we're going to modify the code, and I'll be pushing out the changes to my GitHub account as well. So you can take a look at that. But that's kind of what we're going to be doing here. We're adding on to it, right? So we're going to be uploading, but we need to add a function first to our SharePoint class that we started in the previous part one. Take a look at that if you want to kind of, go through that on how that works. So we're going to do that first, and then we're going to create a upload files PY file, just kind of show you, put some examples of, how to upload files. Guys, so before we get started, if you could give me a follow, give me a like, appreciate it, guys. Hit that follow, hit that like. Guys, so one of my sponsors for the video is GoShareIt.io. Take a look at it. They're a sharing platform. Ultimately, their app is designed to share files, large and small files, doesn't matter, and just makes it easier for the recipient, where all they need is a download link, and if it's password protected, as long as they have that password or that passcode, they could have access to the file to download. And again, it's very ideal for large files as well, multi-gig size files. So go take a look at it. They're sponsoring this video, and yeah, go sign up and let me know what you think. Alright guys, so now let's get started on our video. Alright guys, so we're gonna start again, those of y'all who are just starting, we go take a look at part one if you want to get familiar on this Office 365 API file. But ultimately, we're using the Office 365 package, and then of course from there we're kind of simplifying the authentication, and ultimately, creating some functions to get download files, to get file lists, so on and so on. So one of the things that we're going to do here, since we're trying to upload files, we're going to end up creating a upload file function. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So in this case, it would be called upload file, and this is going to take 3 arguments, right? So one is going to be file name. The second one is going to be folder name, which is the SharePoint folder with subdomain names as well if you wanted to go to a subfolder. I don't know why I said subdomain. I meant to say subfolder. Then the third one is going to be the context of the file, right? We got to read the file, so whatever context belongs to that file, whether it be text, binary, doesn't matter, whatever that is, that's going to get uploaded as well. All right, so those are our 3 arguments that we need. So now let's go ahead and start doing, the first thing we need to do is get our connection. We're going to create a connection. In this case, it would be the _auth function, which is again up here to authenticate. As you could tell, it's already passing in credentials to authenticate. The next thing we're going to do, we need to build our target folder URL. All right, so in this case, it's going to be sites / SharePoint site name, right? The name of our SharePoint site / the next one is SharePoint docs. Again, same thing, / and then it's going to be the folder name, right? The SharePoint, this is going to be a argument that we're going to pass in, and I'll show you an example of how that looks and everything too. So that's all. We don't have to specify the a file name or nothing here. We're just specifying the pretty much the target, which folder we want to upload the file to. That's kind of what we're doing here. The next thing is going to be, we're going to call this target folder, and this would be connect web git folder by pass, right? So that's what we're going to specify here. It's going to be by pass. Then our argument inside here would be our target folder URL, right? So pretty much we're specifying the pass of which folder we want to, you know, save it to, and that's kind of what we're doing here. All right, so once we do that, the next thing is, let me create an object. We're gonna call this upload status, because it's gonna be the results, right? The response. I guess I could just call it response. So it'll be response, and this would be target folder upload file. And you can tell the first argument is file name. So I'm going to specify file name, and then it's going to be our context. So I'm going to specify our context, right, which is this argument that's coming into this function, and the file name they're going to get passed in, right? So that's kind of what we're doing here. And then on top of that, we got to do a execute query, and that's it. We're going to get a response back, and then I could go ahead and return that response. Yep, that's it. Return the response. So from a response, this is a normal HTTP response. So I mean, you could either get the context, the status code. If you want to add some other logic, where if it returns a 400 status code or 403 or whatever it may be, you could do some other stuff with it. We're not going to go that detailed. That's on a, you know, that's on a per use case on what you're trying to do, right? But either way, it's just a normal HTTP response is what this is. So this is it, man. This is the only thing that we need to add to our Office 365 API file. We're adding the upload file function. So now let's kind of put an example together on like how to use it. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new file, and we're gonna call this new file, let's call it upload files.py, right? So that's kind of what we're gonna be doing here. So again, just like the download file, we're gonna need to bring in pretty much all of these packages except the OS. We don't need the OS. I guess I don't need it over here either, so I'm not sure why I have it here, but let me go ahead and remove the OS. Don't need that. All right. So in this file, we're going to have 3 arguments. So let's go ahead and set those 3 arguments right quick, right? The first one, which is argument number 1, would be root directory pass of files to upload, right? So I'm going to call this root directory system, and this would be index 1, right? So remember, index 0 is always the file that you're executing by default. Index 1 is whatever other argument we pass in. So this is going to be our let's say we have files in some kind of local directory. That's what this is going to be, but we need to specify the full directory pass. So I'm using Windows right now, and so it'll be like your C drive, you know, wherever your file is at, folder, subfolder, then until you get to the folder that you want to be at. If it's a network drive, you specify the server name, and then the file, and so on, right? So, all right, so that's number 1. Number 2, this would be our SharePoint folder name, right? This is on where we want to save it to in SharePoint. May include subfolders to upload to. All right, so let's call this SharePoint folder name. And this would be our index 2, right? It's our second argument, so index 2. The third argument that we're going to pass in would be file name pattern. So this is that we only want to upload specific file names with a specific name, right? So let's say you have a folder. That folder has files that's called sales, calls, you know, sales and calls, but you only want to upload the sales reports, right? The file with the word sales in it. That's a pattern that we're looking for. And that's where you can specify a pattern and would only upload those file names with that pattern. So that's kind of what this is going to be for. Only upload files with this pattern. All right. And this would be file name pattern system. This will be index 3. All right. So now that we have that out of the way, what we're going to do next is we're going to need to create a few functions that we're going to create here to do different things, right? I'm just separating the code. And I build it. Here's the thing. I could build a real quick example to show you that it works. I want to build something that's more usable, where you can literally take what I have and just populate your own arguments and you're good to go. Like it's that easy, good to go, right? That's what I'm trying to do here, right? So what I'm gonna do here is my first function that I'm gonna create, I'm gonna call it Git File Context. So this it would be read files and return the context of file, right? So that's what this is doing, right? So file pass. It's not text file. This could be any file, Excel, PDF, doesn't matter. But ultimately, based on whatever, if it's a true file, we want to be able to read, get the data from that file, and then ultimately that context is what's going to get uploaded to SharePoint. So that's what this function is going to do, right? Isolating it that way. So we're going to do with open. In this case, it will be file pass read binary as file. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to return. It will be file.read, right? So ultimately, we're reading a file, and that's what we're calling this read method here, to be able to read everything like in that file. Then we're going to return that back. It takes one file at a time. That's why I call Git File, not files. So we're doing one file at a time. That's what this does. All right. So the next method that we're going to create is going to be we're going to call this Git list of files, right? Files. Then we're going to specify the folder. So what this is trying to do, what this is doing better yet, is we're going to specify a folder, and we want to be able to return back a list of files from that folder. But we're going to build logic in here where we only want to return back files, right? So you could have a folder that has subfolders inside. We don't want to return the subfolders because those are not files, they're folders. So we need to build logic to identify, is this a true file? And if it is a true file, return that back. But if it's a folder, don't return it back. We don't want, folder subfolders. We just want files. So that's kind of what we're doing here, right? So I'm going to create a file list that's going to be empty. All right. Next, I'm going to do a folder item list, which this would be our, oh, you know what? I am using OS. Duh, never mind. I need to bring that back. All right. So I am using the OS list directory. And this is where I'm going to specify my folder. So if you're not familiar with this, the list directory function, pretty much you provided a folder pass. It'll give you all of the objects, right? The items in that folder. But again, it gives you everything back. It gives you subfolders and files, right? So that's where we need to build logic to only return back files only. So once we do that, we're going to do a for loop, and we're going to call this for item in folder item list. I'm going to call this, I want to build my item full pass The reason why I want to build this, I want the actual the root pass and the file name is I'm going to need that in order to be able to read the context. So we'll see how we use that in a minute, but that's the reason why I'm building this. I'm going to use per pass. Again, per pass, strongly recommend use all your projects because it works on all operating systems. It kind of helps build a pass based on operating system, right? So it makes it easier when you're bouncing around from Windows to Linux and stuff, or Mac. So I'm going to specify folder, and then I'm going to specify item, okay? Because the item is going to give me back so what I'm going to do here, though, I'm actually going to put some logic before that. So before that, I'm going to do if os pass is file. So this returns true or false. Oh, you know what? Never mind. I do need that. My bad. I need to put that before. Yep. And the reason why, because I'm going to need this item full pass. Because again, in order for this function is file to check to tell you true that it is a file or false that it's not a file, you need to provide the full root folder name pass, right? So that's kind of where this comes in, and then it's able to check it is a file, and if it is a file, then that's where I'm gonna get my file list and I'm gonna append. And now in this case, I'm appending a list, and the reason why it's a list because I want to add two values to it. One of them is going to be item, which item is the file name. The second one is going to be the item full pass. So I have the file name, then the full file name pass, what I have here. And then that's where, when it's all said and done, I'm going to return the file list. So again, just kind of iterate. We got two functions now: a get file context, then we have a get list of files. This will return back a list of true files in the form of a list. So I mean, that makes it easier, because if not, you gotta add logic to, well, if it's a folder, I want to skip it. This again, I'm just isolating our logic to different functions. Pretty much what I'm doing here, right? So now that that's done, the next thing that I'm going to create is going to be upload file, right? So ultimately, this is our function to upload a file, like one file, right? That's the purpose of this. So the argument is going to be file name, then it will be folder, and then the context, right? The data of the file, the file that we're trying to upload. In this case, we're going to end up calling SharePoint dot upload file, and then we're going to pass in file name, folder, again folder, the SharePoint folder name, then of course the context. That's it. That's all we need to pass in here to upload file. And again, this function ultimately is calling the SharePoint, the next function that we're going to create, we're going to call this upload files, right, with an S. And what we're going to end up taking here is going to be a folder argument, right? So the reason why it's a folder argument, because it's upload files, more than one. So we want to specify the folder, which is going to be the root directory path, so which folder we're looking for. Then by doing that, that's what we're going to end up calling this function over here. So what we're going to end up doing here, we're going to call this file list equals the get list of files function that we set over here, which again returns back a list. So this is going to just return back a list of files only, not directories, subdirectory, but files only, right? So it kind of has it already clean. Once it does that, now we're going to do an iteration over a for file in file list. And then we're going to need to get the file context of each file. And that's what we're going to do, call this file context, and it will be get file context. And then we're going to specify in here file index 1. So again, why index 1? Remember down below we appended, we appended a list. Index 0 is the file name. Index 1 is the full root path with file name. So that's where we're going to, in order for us to read the context, we need to specify not just the file name, but the full root directory with file name. And then that's where it would be able to read it, right? Over here, be able to read that file and return back the data. So that's why it's index 1. Once we do that, next we're going to end up calling upload file, right? Which is this function here. And then we're just going to specify what we need. So one thing I was thinking right now, and honestly, we probably should have done it. Should do it this way. It makes sense. There's really no need to even call this or have this function. This could just get moved over here, because this is not doing anything else but that and that only, right? So because of that, let's go ahead and comment that out for now. And again, file name in this case. So kind of going back to this list, file is a list object. Index 1 is a full root path with file name. Index 0 is the actual file name. So I'm going to pass in here would be file index 0, which is the file name, right? Then for folder, this is going to be the SharePoint folder name. And then of course we have our file context here. So this would be file context. And that's it. This, as it iterates over the list of files, it will go up. It will start uploading each file to SharePoint. And this is not needed. I don't need to do that. So that's it, guys. That's, oh yeah, you know what? We need one more. So we have upload files. So I'm going to create one more. Let me create this here in the middle. This is going to be called upload files by pattern. And this would be keyword, and then it would be the folder. So what we're doing here is, again, kind of going back to the file name pattern. If maybe we have a folder that has 500 files, but out of the 500 files, maybe you have files that are by customer, right? Like in the name, it has a customer name, you know, Google, Apple, Facebook, right? Just making up, but you have client names in the file. Well, you can specify a pattern that says, hey, find only the ones with the name Google in it. And then we're going to upload those files, you know, over to SharePoint, right? It's just an example, but that's kind of where we're going to create a function for that as well. Then we'll add some logic on how to like use it and so on. So in this case, it will be the same concept as this. Hold on, why is this? Oh yeah, my bad, because of this. So it will be the same thing. We need to get the list. We're going to iterate over. And then what we're going to do here is going to be, I'm going to add some logic that says if regular expression search. In this case, it would be by keyword. And then it would be the file name. Remember, name, which is index 0. If it has that name, if that is a match, then it will be the same where we do this. So probably what we could do, so we don't like reuse too much code, under upload files, we could go ahead and include keyword equals none, right? So what we'll do here would be we'll add some logic. The logic that we could add would be if keyword is none, let's see, what do we want to do here? So we could do if keyword is none, execute this. At the same time though, I don't want to repeat this. Or I could do or, right? Because if it's not none, that's when the or executes. A regular expression search keyword comma file index 0. Now this has to be true. So ultimately it's saying if keyword is none, or if the keyword matches the file name, which is true, then execute this. Which means I do not need this. I could just get rid of that. It's not even needed. So now we kind of, instead of having another function for that, we just kind of eliminated that and added it to here. But again, we don't need to provide a keyword. Only if we do provide a keyword, then ultimately, so we do have technically a keyword, and I may need to, what I may need to do, because it's not truly none, right? So what I may need to do this is change it to an actual, let me see. Let me remove it. You know what? I may need to just remove it, which is fine. Let me leave it as none, because you may want to play around with it a little bit differently. Is if keyword is none, I'm going to do another or call this keyword is not none, right? So if it's not none, then we do want to run this. My bad. Is none. We do want to run this as well. Or if it's none of these, which means it does have a keyword, that's when it needs to have a match. It needs to be true. Then it runs this. All right, so that should be fine. So now that we have pretty much three functions, right? To get context from the file, to read it, get a list of all the files, and then ultimately we're going to upload. And then, you know, that's kind of what we're doing here. We're uploading. Now let's go ahead and add this to our, so this would be a name. Oops, I had it wrong. So it'll be name equals main, and then from here we would do upload files. Then we're going to end up passing in a few keywords, which in the first one would be root directory. The next one would be file name pattern, and really that's it. That's all we would do here. Yep, I think that's it. So what I'm going to do for this example is, let me go ahead and I'm going to create a folder, and let's call this storage, and I'm going to add some files to that folder. So let me go ahead and add some files to that folder so we kind of see this in action. So let me go ahead and find some files real quick. All right, cool. So I found some. Let's see. Now let me go back to my project. All right, so storage. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to go ahead and create a folder. Just call it test. Now I'm going to copy some of these in here, right, which is fine. But you can tell we got one folder and we have 4 files, right? It's kind of what we're dealing with here. So let me go ahead and copy this, because again, I need to provide the full root path of the folder where I want to upload files, you know, from, then ultimately to SharePoint. So now let me go to SharePoint now. This is not SharePoint. Okay, so I'm going to upload it to this folder here, right? So you have document, data 2022 and cells. Hit refresh. There's nothing in there. So now let's go ahead and run this, and I'm going to upload files to there. So I'm going to run Python upload file, right? That's argument 0, index 0 pretty much for my argument. the first argument, if we look back, is the root directory path. This is where the files are going to come from to upload to SharePoint. Double quotes, then I'm going to hit space, right? Next is going to be where the SharePoint, what is my folder called? So now let's go look in SharePoint. So see how it says documents, data, blah, blah, blah. So we're not specifying documents. So keep that in mind. Do not include documents. What you are going to include though is going to be, in this case, if I go to documents, this is my main folder here, my starting folder. So it'll be data, 2022, and sales. So I'm going to specify these for my folder on where I want it to get imported, uploaded to. So it'll be data, 2022, sales, right? So now I'm going to hit space. And then our third argument is file name pattern. So we'll do a test on that, but for right now, I'm going to have this as none. Okay, right, none. Now let's hit enter. Okay, no errors so far. It looks good. Yes, all right. Let's see. Let's make sure that it worked. So now if I go back to SharePoint, hit refresh, boom, we have all of our files here. So it worked. It worked fine, right? It did exactly, it uploaded to the sales folder. Pretty much it did exactly what we wanted it to do. So let's try it again. But see how we have, in this case, we have context. So I'm going to run it where I only want the context files to get uploaded only, right? So let's do that real quick to make sure that logic works. So that's deleted. So now what I'm going to do is same thing. I got to specify, oops, I just realized you can't really see. My bad, guys. So again, your file, upload files.py. This is going to be the directory where your files are at. Then this is going to be where you're going to upload it to in SharePoint, like the folder path in SharePoint. Then I put none initially because I didn't have no patterns that I was looking for. Well, now I do have a pattern that I'm looking for, which is going to be contact, I believe, right? Damn, I deleted the files. You know, I have them right here. There goes contacts. So I don't need to put the S. It's a wild card. So contact should work. So now if I hit enter, let's make sure that logic works. It should only upload those two files. And boom, there it goes. It uploaded those two files exactly as expected. So again, it wasn't too bad. We really just had to add one function to our Office 365 API file. And then of course the upload file kind of shows we created our code to kind of be isolated to do different things, to get the context in one function, to generate our list of files in another function. And then of course the third one was the actual uploading. So hopefully this helps out, guys. Again, this is a part 2 of the series. There will be more parts coming. I'm going to be showing on uploading, downloading SharePoint lists will be another one. And also uploading to SharePoint. Let's say you want to create a new SharePoint list. Maybe you have an Excel file, for example, or something, some kind of data set, and you want to create a new SharePoint. Yeah, you want to take that file and ultimately convert it to a SharePoint list. I'm going to go through a lot of these examples. We're going to continue to update this source code. So go take a look at it on my GitHub account. And as I keep making new videos, it'll get updated with the new functionality that we're working on for that specific video. So again, guys, hope this helps. Go ahead and give me a like, give me a follow, man. I appreciate it. And be on the lookout for part 3 soon. Peace.